Hey guys, and welcome to the channel. If you haven't already, please make sure you like, comment, share and subscribe to the vids. Okay, as you can see, a slightly different background, and yeah, thought I'd change up a little bit. Okay, let's go straight into it then. ATP Finals Day 2. So, we've got the group Tokyo 1970, all 4 players out on court. So first of all, there was Djokovic versus Schwartzman, and then we're going to go through Medvedev versus Zverev. So 2 very, pretty good matchups, I would say. I think probably Medvedev, Zverev, you'd expect to be slightly closer. But on the whole, again, like the other group, a tough group to be in. Okay, let's go straight into Djokovic versus Schwartzman. So Schwartzman, like Rublev, making his debut in the tournament. Djokovic, as we know, a legend that he is, 17 Grand Slams won. Up there as will be, by the time he finishes his career, up there as one of the best ever. If not the best ever, who knows. But Djokovic, 5 times champion of this already, but hasn't won it since 2015. So I think he obviously will be looking to stamp his authority and say, you know what, I'm going to end the year as number 1. Let's really consolidate and let everyone know, look, I am going to not just play well in the tournament and win it, but take that into 2021 and say, look, I'm a force to be reckoned with. I'm going to win the slams, and I'm going to catch up to Nadal and Federer, who are both on 20 slams at the moment. So, yeah, I think that's the attitude he would have come into. Schwartzman looking to just, I think for him, like Rublev, get off to a good start, get a win in his on his debut in the tournament. A really interesting stat before I go into the actual match. Djokovic's record against opponents who are 5'10" or shorter is 46-4 since 2009. Ridiculous, right? I mean, it's just incredible. So this is since 2009, as I said, and I think from then really is when he started to morph into the monster of a player that he is now and today. So actually, Schwartzman won the toss and actually elected to return, and which is most times you won't see many people doing that, but maybe he just wanted to get a look at Djokovic's serve first, kind of get a feel into the match. It actually worked to a degree because at 1-1, Schwartzman broke Djokovic and was 2-1 up. And for him, he's probably thinking, whoa, this has worked. And he was playing very well, to be fair, in those first couple of games, just very solid. Schwartzman was that type of player who, as I said, he's quite short, but he's very compact. He's solid on both wings, forehand and backhand, but it's also his athleticism around the court. He gets the balls very well. He's a relatively big serve for someone his size as well. And I think just in general, he's been much improved over the last year. And I think definitely was deserving to be in these ATP Tour finals. Beating Nadal on clay for him was a big thing. I think it was Rome. So, yeah, massive win there. Anyway, Schwartzman broke Djokovic early doors, and this kind of flicked a switch in Djokovic to say, in Novak saying, okay, you know what? I've kind of been in first gear here straight away. I need to go up in the gears. And I think the commentator said about laser eyes, and in a way it was, because Djokovic broke right back, and it's almost like that break of serve jolted him to say, okay, right, I'm in first gear, as I said, let's go into second, third gear. I really need to up my game. And I think that's the jolt that maybe it helped him in a way to kind of wake him up and say, okay, we've got to get going. And he started shifting through those gears. And Schwartzman, I think, probably realised that was happening. And Djokovic was just upping his game bit by bit. Something I want to touch upon in terms of technical analysis on both players actually is that both of them sliced their backhands really well. And I talked about, I think it was Rublev in the previous video, saying that he doesn't have that variation at all and slices only one backhand in the whole match against Nadal. Both of these players have that variation, and it's not just about slicing your backhand, but it's about placement of that, playing at the right times in a rally where it's all one pace, trying to make it difficult for the opponent, and also the pace of the slice, and also how low over the net it is, how much spin it has on it, how much slice you actually put on that ball to make it difficult for someone. And they varied that quite well, and I think it gave them both a good variation. There were some rallies where they would be slicing backhand to backhand for a couple of strokes, and then they'd go into their normal topspin backhands, forehand, and I think there were some really good rallies in there. Anyway, so Djokovic, after that break, he basically became a different animal, and I think from then on, he actually went on to win the set 6-3. And for me, it was definitely a competent performance from Djokovic. And in the end, I think the biggest factor, which, you might guess it, I'm going to say it's the serve. So an interesting stat here, just to go into set 1. So the first serve was, for Djokovic, very, very effective. Just to go through a few numbers. So he actually had 87% of his first serve placement on the deuce side was either down the tee or out wide. So in those areas where you always want to serve as a tennis player. On the whole, of course, you sometimes might serve to the body, but it's difficult, I think, to really effectively serve to the body all the time. And also, it's something that if you serve to the body too much, people just adapt and they move around and they can read it quite well. So 87%, as I said, on the deuce side to the down the tee or out wide. Similarly, on the ad side, it was 75%. Schwartzman, to be fair, was equally impressive with percentages of 67% and 86% respectively. But the biggest thing for me is that he only won 3 out of 11 points on his second serve. So behind that second serve, he was struggling in the first set. And I think Djokovic, as we know, as I talked about Nadal being one of the best returners, there's an argument to say that Djokovic is the best returner of all time. And those two, you need to be serving really hot. And Schwartzman was serving quite well, but just not quite good enough. And then in the second set, Djokovic just broke straight away in that second set, sealing it with an overhead, which he's really improved on actually over the past few years. That was actually a weak point in his game. I know from watching him regularly that his overhead, even at the net, was something that he was struggling with, his smashes. But that's something that has definitely improved. He's a lot more composed, and obviously he's worked on that, probably rigorously over the last few years, and it's definitely improved for sure. And that opened up a 3-1. That was the first game of the second set, so 1-love to him. And then at 3-1, so he was at break up. He then opened up another breakpoint opportunity, and Schwartzman could only drag a forehand wide, eventually just succumbing to Djokovic's relentless pressure, and ended up going 2 breaks up Djokovic. So 4-1 up, it's pretty much the match is dead and buried when he's 2 breaks up at that point. So held his next 2 service games and wrapped it up 6-3, 6-2 in an hour and 18 minutes, which is really impressive from him, you have to say. And Schwartzman, I don't think it was a particularly bad performance from Schwartzman. I just think Djokovic went through the gears, and it's not to say that these players can't beat Djokovic and Nadal or the top 4. I think that's kind of been disbanded to a degree. But when these guys are, on the top of their game, it's very difficult to beat them, I think. And Schwartzman found that, I think, in this match for sure. In terms of what Djokovic can do and Schwartzman in the tournament, I think my pick was Djokovic and Zverev to go through, if I remember correctly. I think Djokovic is definitely the favourite, I think, this tournament, if I'm being honest. It was a big surprise that he didn't make it through the round robin last year. And after winning against Berrettini in his first match, he lost the next two. One of the matches was like a war of attrition against Thiem, which was one of the best matches ever at the ATP Tour Finals. So, yeah, I think it's hard to back against him. Let's go, though, on to the next match. In terms of Schwartzman, I think he's going to be hard-pressed to make it through this group. But let's see. You never know. I let one match in. There's 2 matches left for all players now. And interesting to see what happens in the next round of matches. Because, look, you can have someone like Djokovic, someone like Nadal, whoever's won their first matches. They can lose the next one, and then it's anyone's... it's anyone's game. Right, okay, on to the second match of the day. So Medvedev versus Zverev, both big hitters. And Medvedev, I think Murray did a really good little analysis beforehand. I like these little analyses on Prime that they're doing with Andy Murray. And he mentioned about Medvedev being very unorthodox. And he returns from very far back, similar to, I guess, Nadal. But he's got a very big wingspan. And he said to be effective against him, you need to kind of slow down your serve a little bit, but serve shorter and wider. So maybe utilising your slice serve, especially on the juice side, you'd imagine, and as a right-hander anyway, and kind of drag him off court and really make it hard for him. He also said that Medvedev is someone who his timing is very good on both sides, but of course the way that he hits his forehand is very unorthodox. His lead hand almost, the way he doesn't quite hit it like he doesn't hit it like a traditional forehand. He hits it in a very strange way. Like his lead hand is almost down, so he hardly uses that left hand of his when hitting a forehand. It goes up a little bit and then he just goes away from it. And that's something that, as I'm assuming as a coach, and from what I was taught when I was younger as well, and from seeing now, that lead hand, traditionally you want that upright to help you with stability and balance. But for him, he doesn't use it, but it doesn't seem to affect him at all. He seems to hit his forehand and backhand equally as well. And he's a very big server as well. Him and Zverev, both big servers. Zverev in the past, I think not as consistent with his serve. He's suffered from, I guess you can say, jitters, but just... I think it is jitters, to be honest with you, to a degree. But let's go straight into this then, because I want to talk about it. Medvedev, obviously the form player, winning the Paris Masters and actually beating Zverev in the Paris Masters final last week. So, both big hitters, as I said. At 1-1, Zverev actually opened up a break point, and Medvedev saved it with a big overhead smash in the net. As I mentioned about Zverev serving, this was actually a common theme throughout the first set especially. We know when it's firing, it's a huge weapon. Again, he struggled with rhythm and double serves again. Double faults even, sorry. And this came back to haunt him, as I said. So at 3-2 down to save a break point, he actually double faulted. And that was 6 double faults in the space of 3 service games, which is not ideal to say the least. As someone who plays just club level, if I'm serving a double fault, 6 double faults in 3 service games, I'm not happy. So I'm sure he wasn't. And so from then on, Medvedev 4-2 up, went on to win the set 6-3, holding his next 2 service games. The way that Medvedev, as I've said, hits his forehand is very unique. As I said, he doesn't use that front arm, but it seems to work. And he's got very good feeling touch at the net, I would say, in my opinion. Hits not very good drop shots, good angles. And I think his variation, to a degree, really helped him in this match. Zverev being the more traditional, conventional tennis player, he does the basics well on the whole, apart from serving in that first set. But just didn't quite have that variation that I think maybe Medvedev had, and it made a big difference, I think. And at 3-3 actually in the second set, Zverev was having to save yet another break point at 40-30 down, and he dumped a forehand into the net after a really grueling rally. And Medvedev was really clever in that rally because he was on the back foot having to defend, and he hit a couple of basically lob forehands when he was defending really deep with a lot of topspin. Zverev tried to capitalise on it and attack them, but it just didn't quite work. And Medvedev in the end managed to transition from defense to attack in that rally, and Zverev ended up dumping his forehand into the net, which again meant that Medvedev went a break up in that second set. Look at 4-3 and 30 all. Actually, there was a funny moment. Funny to a degree, where Medvedev hit a underarm serve, and I think the commentators said that's the first underarm serve in the ATP World Tour Finals they've seen. No ace for him, but he won the point. And yeah, from then on, he held his next two service games and sealed it, which he'll be really happy with. So he actually held to love in that final service game, and he secured his first win in the ATP Tour Finals, not just this year, but last year he didn't win a single match. So he'll be happy to, basically get on a winning roll here, because I think he probably would have been lacking a little bit of confidence in terms of, I lost all my games last year, and wouldn't want that to happen, of course, again. So to get a win under his belt, I think he'll be happy with that. As Zverev, we know, obviously 2018 champion, so we know that he has the ability to play very well on these courts. But at the moment, it doesn't look like he's particularly in as good a form anyway than Medvedev. So I want to amend my picks and go Djokovic Medvedev after these matches, but I'll stick with it for now. But I think Medvedev's going to go through, in my opinion, after that first round. But who knows? Anything can happen, right? So he won 6-3, 6-4 in an hour and 29 minutes. And yeah, I think Medvedev is going to be a force to be reckoned with, I think, especially in this group. And who knows what he can do this year, but I think he'll definitely be looking to push on. He said that one of his heroes was Davydenko, and he obviously, the first ATP Tour Finals in London, Davydenko actually won that. So, look, he'll probably be trying to repeat that feat. Zverev, I think, will want to go back to the drawing board. He'll need to work on his serving. It's obviously something mentally that he needs to improve on. He probably think, if I've done it once, I can do it again, in terms of, hitting those types of double faults in bunches. So he needs to get over that somehow. But we'll see how that goes. Okay, I think I'm done. Thank you very much for watching. And if you stay with me till the end of the video, I hope you guys are well and safe. And as I said, please make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and share the vids if you haven't already. And if you have already, then thank you so much. Your support is appreciated. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you on the next video.